Good evening. Am I audible? Good evening. Am I audible? Yes, I am audible, right? So, welcome to this webinar on artificial intelligence using machine learning. Yes, Vijay Lakshmi, good evening. Sangeeta, good evening. Am I audible to everyone? So, firstly, I am just going to discuss with you about what is machine learning. Give you a brief introduction to machine learning. Good evening, everybody. I am audible to everyone, right? Good evening, everybody. I am audible to everyone, right? Yes. So, firstly, I am just going to give you a brief introduction. What do you mean by machine learning? So, and then I will be discussing with you about artificial intelligence, and I will show you a simple implementation example. Alright. So, this is what I am going to discuss with you. So, basically, what do you mean by machine learning? So, basically, what do you mean by machine learning? What is machine learning? So, machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence. So, from the name you can just understand what do you mean by machine learning. So, it is nothing but the ability of the machines to themselves without being explicitly programmed. So, this is what is called as machine learning. So, it is an application of AI. So, this is what ability of the machines to learn by themselves without being explicitly programmed. Clear with this? So towards ML, you can take any kind of predictive analytics. Today the world is evolving around data in whichever sector you go. For example, you can consider an e-commerce industry, or you can consider banking management system, hospital management system. So in whichever sector you go, the world is evolving around data. So I am going to collect the data, I am going to analyze the data, and I am going to come up with some important prediction results. So this is what is called as machine learning. So machine learning is a kind of AI. It is an application of artificial intelligence. It enables computers to think and learn on their own. Clear with this? So this is what is called as machine learning, data science, data mining. So what do you mean by data science? From the name you can just understand what do you mean by data science. So it is nothing but the scientific study of data. So it's nothing but a set of techniques, extract information from the data. So this is what is called as data science. And what do you mean by data mining? I'm going to collect the data, search the pattern, and then I'm going to come up. So this is what is called as data science and data mining. So what it is used for? So firstly, I just gave you some introduction to machine learning. What do you mean by machine learning? So machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence. So what it is used for? So what is the use of going for this machine learning? So fraud detection in any sectors. For example, you can consider credit card frauds, or you can consider some other type of frauds. In whichever sector you go, fraud detection. And pricing models. For example, whenever I want to predict house prices, or I want to predict some insurance prices, gold prices, diamond prices. So any kind of prices can be predicted by using different types of machine learning algorithms. And customer segmentation. So there are two different types of machine learning. So I am going to discuss with you about different types of machine learning techniques as well. Basically, I am just giving you a brief introduction to machine learning. Sentiment analysis. For example, you can consider a customer data set, or you can consider a Twitter data set. So you can go for sentiment analysis. So image recognition, spam filtering. So all these are the different applications of machine learning. Clear with this? So a network intrusion detection, fraud detection, recommendation engines. All these are the different applications of going for this machine learning. So from this circle you can just understand. So there is an artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then deep learning. So what do you mean by this artificial intelligence? A technique which enables machines to mimic human behavior. Artificial intelligence, it is nothing but the human-like intelligence displayed by machines. So the machines, they are going to think like human beings and it is going to come up with some important prediction results. So this is what is called as artificial intelligence. So a technique which enables machines to mimic human behavior and machine learning. So what do you mean by machine learning? So it is a subset of AI technique. They use statistical methods to enable machines to improve with experience. And deep learning is a subset of ML. It makes the computation of multi-layer neural network possible. So all these, I am just giving you a brief introduction to machine learning. Clear with this? So data science, big data. So what do you mean by this big data? As the volume of data is going to increase, there comes called the big data technology. So clear with this? So machine learning, deep learning, AI, and there comes the big data technology. So data science, we are going to analyze the data. So whenever you can consider any type of predictive analytics. For example, I want to predict the stock market prices. So whether it is increasing or decreasing exponentially, or if I want to predict some house prices, gold prices. So you can consider any type of price prediction. So all this comes under predictive analytics. Clear with this? So artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. So all this comes under predictive analytics. Or you can consider some other things. For example, I want to predict the road accident analysis. Road accidents. So how heavily it is affected. Or if I want to analyze some other types. Disease prediction. Today diabetes is a major lifestyle disease. So disease prediction, or I can go for heart disease prediction, liver disease prediction. So any types of diseases can be predicted by employing this machine learning techniques. So applications of machine learning, recommender system, Netflix, Amazon, so sports analysis, driverless cars, so self-driving cars, Google Translate, speech to text conversion, ads recommendation. So all these are the different applications of going for this machine learning. So why I have to go for this machine learning? So I can go for Netflix, recommender system. Or I can go for driverless cars, Alexa, Siri, voice assistants, virtual assistants. So all these are the different applications of going for this machine learning. Speech to text conversion, ads recommendation engine. So these two are the popularly used languages for doing any kind of predictive analytics. I can go for Python language or I can go for R programming. So these two are the popularly used languages for doing any kind of predictive analytics. So I have different types of learning. So I have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and then reinforcement learning. So all these are the different types of machine learning techniques. So basically, what do you mean by supervised learning? So from the name you can just understand. So what do you mean by supervised learning? Labeled data. So from the raw data samples or labeled data, I am going to predict something. So from the known data, the machine learning learns by itself. From the data samples, so when something unknown comes in, it compares the unknown data with the known data and it is going to come up with some important prediction result. So this is what is called as supervised learning. So whenever I am going to consider the supervised learning, so you should have this important term called labeled data. So this is the important technical term you should understand. So whenever I am going to discuss with you about supervised learning, so labeled data, this is the important technical term you should understand. And there is one more important type of machine learning technique. It is called as unsupervised learning. So what do you mean by this unsupervised learning? From the name you can just understand what do you mean by supervised learning and what do you mean by unsupervised learning. So unlabeled data, raw data samples. From the raw data samples, the machine learning model learns by itself and it is going to come up with some important prediction results. So this is what is called as unsupervised learning. And there is machine learning. So it is called as a reinforcement learning. So from the experience, the machine learning model learns by experience and it comes up with important prediction results. So all these are the different types of machine learning techniques. Clear with this? So basically I have three different types of machine learning. So first one is the supervised machine learning technique. Second one is the unsupervised machine learning technique. And third one is the reinforcement learning technique. So these three are the different types of machine learning techniques. And all these are the different types of machine learning algorithms. So I can go for linear regression algorithm. So I can go for logistic regression. I can go for decision tree, SVM, support vector machine algorithm, naive Bayes, K and K nearest neighbors, random forest neural network, K means algorithm. So all these are the different types of machine learning algorithms. So whether it can be whenever I am going to consider any kind of supervised machine learning problem, so it can be a classification problem or it can be a regression problem. So what do you mean by a classification problem? For example, a person is going to win a game or he is going to lose a game. So success or failure. So it is called yes or no kind of thing. So whenever the output is binary categorical, ones or zeros, success or failure. So this is what is called as a classification problem. And there is one more type of machine learning problem. It is called as a regression problem. So what do you mean by this regression problem? So whenever the output varies in a linear manner, straight line kind of a thing in accordance with the input. So this is what is called as a regression problem. Clear with this? So all these are the commonly used machine learning algorithms. So I can go for linear regression, I can go for logistic regression, decision tree algorithm, SVM, support vector machine algorithm, naive Bayes algorithm, K and K nearest neighbors, random forest neural network. So all these are the different types of machine learning algorithms. So I have regression, for example, predictive modeling technique. So it investigates the relationship between a dependent and independent variable. So how the output and input are being that is related. So sales and marketing, age and income, forecasting and effect, trend forecasting. So all these are the different uses of going for this regression technique. Clear with this? So what do you mean by a classification problem and what do you mean by a regression problem? Say for example, let me just take up a simple example. So I am going to illustrate with this. For example, so you can just take up. So I have, for example, I am giving input data samples. For example, apples or oranges. So some fruits or so when something unknown comes in. So this is what is called as labeled data or known data. So I can go for different types of machine learning algorithms or machine learning models, whatever you call. So I can go for a classification problem or I can go for a regression problem. So known data samples, that is labeled data, or you can call them as known data samples. So it is given as input to the machine learning model. So when something unknown comes in, it compares the unknown data with the known data and we are going to come up with some important prediction result. So this is what is called as a classification problem. So it is going to classify, so whether it is an apple or whether it is an orange, so success or failure, labeled data. So whenever I am going to talk about supervised machine learning, so what do you mean by a supervisor or a teacher? So under some guidance. So for example, labeled data, so this is given as input to the machine learning model. So when something unknown comes in, it compares the unknown data with the known data and it is going to come up with some important prediction results. So what is going to happen in the future? So it is classified as apples or it is classified some fruit classification. Say for example, I want to predict whether a person is going to win the game or he is going to lose the game. So success or failure, yes or no kind of a thing, so ones or zeros. So this is what is called as a classification problem. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this classification problem? So there is one more type of a problem. So whenever you consider supervised machine learning technique, so this is what is called as a classification problem. So it is going to classify binary categorical. The output is going to be binary categorical. So this is what is called as a classification problem. And there is one more type of problem. It is called as a regression problem. So what do you mean by this regression problem? So whenever the output varies in a linear way in accordance with the input. Say for example, I am taking some inputs. So whenever the output varies in a linear way in accordance with the input. For example, house price prediction, insurance price prediction, gold price prediction. So whenever the output varies in a linear way in accordance with the input. So this is what is called as a regression problem. Clear with this? So what is the relationship between the input and output? So whenever the output varies in a linear way in accordance with the input, so this is what is called as a regression problem. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this regression problem? So you can consider house price prediction or gold price prediction or insurance price prediction. So you can consider any type of prediction. So whenever the output varies in a linear manner, in a straight line kind of a thing in accordance with the input, so this is what is called as a regression problem. Clear with this? So what do you mean by this regression problem? So till this part, whatever I am speaking, everything is clear. So basically all these are the different types of machine learning techniques. So I can go for a classification problem or I can go for a regression problem. So what are all the different types of libraries used to do this? So whenever I want to predict something, so this is an example of supervised machine learning technique, and there is one more type of machine learning technique. So it is called as an unsupervised machine learning technique. So Python libraries or specific files containing a written code that can be imported into the code base. So in order to do all these processes, I have different types of libraries. So first one is the NumPy library, numerical Python. So it is used for performing any kind of mathematical operations. And I have so NumPy. So pip is the corresponding package installer. So whenever I want to use any kind of library, so pip is the corresponding package installer. So NumPy stands for numerical Python. It is used for performing any kind of mathematical operations. So whenever I want to perform any kind of mathematical operations, I can go for this NumPy library. And there is one more important library. It is called as a matplotlib library. So what is the use of going for this matplotlib library? So it is used for doing data visualization task. So whenever I want to do any kind of data visualization task, so I have to go for this matplotlib library. So pip is the corresponding package installer. So pip space install space matplotlib. So I have to install matplotlib library using pip command. And what are all the different types of plots that can be drawn using this matplotlib library? So a bar graph, histogram, scatter plot, area plot, pie plot. So all these are the different types of plots that can be drawn using this matplotlib library. So I can go for a bar graph, I can go for a histogram, I can go for a scatter plot, area plot, pie plot. So all these are the different types of plots that can be drawn using this matplotlib library. And there is one more important library. It is called as the pandas library. So what is the use of going for this pandas library? So it is used for doing any kind of data manipulation task. So any kind of data manipulation task can be performed using this pandas library. So whenever I want to install pandas library, so I have to use the pip command. So pip space install. So I have to install the corresponding module or library. So I can install pandas library, or I can go for NumPy, or I can go for matplotlib. So clear with this? So using pip command, so I need to install corresponding modules and libraries. So I just gave you some introduction to machine learning. So it is all about AI and ML. Clear with this? So firstly I just started with what do you mean by machine learning. So what are all the different types of machine learning techniques. So what is artificial intelligence? So anybody can tell me what is artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence, from the name you can just understand what do you mean by artificial intelligence. It is nothing but the human-like intelligence displayed by machines. So artificial, from the name you can just understand. So it is going to mimic the human brains. So similar to human intelligence, I am going to create artificial intelligence. Clear with this? So what do you mean by artificial intelligence? The world is evolving around data. So you can see here. So the machines, they are going to learn from the data, and I am going to build some intelligent systems. So you can consider some chatbot applications. You can consider a medical enquiry chatbot, or you can consider a college enquiry chatbot. So all these are the different applications of AI. Artificial intelligence, from the name you can just understand, it is nothing but human-like intelligence displayed by machines. Clear with this? So what do you mean by artificial intelligence? So you can go for in order to interpret some events. So all these are the different applications of AI. So why I have to go for AI? So in order to solve any kind of real world problems, with the help of artificial intelligence, I can create the personal virtual assistant, Cortana, Google Assistant, Siri. Clear with this? So any type of voice assistants can be created using this AI. So all these are the different domains of AI. So when you consider machine learning, natural language processing. So what do you mean by NLP, natural language processing? So it is similar to English language. It is going to capture the speech input. I am going to analyze the speech input, and it is going to come up with some important prediction results. So this is what is called as NLP, natural language processing. So text generation, question answering, context extraction, classification, machine translation, speech recognition. So all these are the different applications of AI. Clear with this? So based on capabilities, you can just see here. What do you mean by artificial intelligence? So till this part everything is clear. So I just gave you some introduction to machine learning. So what do you mean by artificial intelligence? So all these are the different types of machine learning techniques. For example, product analysis, shopping complex purchase. So based on the purchase pattern of customer, I am going to train the machine learning models, and it is going to come up with some important prediction result. So what are the type of data? So all these are the different applications of AI and ML. 1 minute. So for example, I am having different types of products and number of times purchased. So what are the different types of products and number of times purchased? Product analysis. So what are the mandatory products the customer is buying? So what is the use of this machine learning and artificial intelligence? Everything is about predictive analytics. So automation is happening at a very, very large scale. Python is one popularly used language for doing any kind of automation. So what type of products girls buy and what type of products boys buy? Clear with this? So which company product the customer is buying? For example, Apple phone, Samsung, Lenovo. For which specific product the customer is not worried about cost. For example, baby products. So I can go for product analysis, data plus algorithm planning. Clear with this? So result like this. So baby products or categories as per their age. For example, 1, 2, 3 years. So purchase for 2000 rupees, 20% offer for privileged customers. So all these are the different applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So when you consider these types, all these are the different types of machine learning techniques. I can go for supervised machine learning, or I can go for unsupervised machine learning, or I can go for reinforcement learning. So when you consider this supervised machine learning technique, you can see here I have a classification problem. So all these are the different types of machine learning models or machine learning algorithms. So whenever you consider the classification problem, so I can go for logistic regression, SVM, support vector machine, ANN, artificial neural network, decision trees. So all these are the different types of classification problems. And when you consider this regression model, I can go for linear regression or I can go for polynomial regression. Deep learning technique, so I can go for CNN, convolutional neural network, or I can go for RNN, recurrent neural network model. And there is one more type of machine learning technique, it is called as an unsupervised machine learning model. So I can go for clustering, K means clustering, dimensionality reduction, principal component analysis. So when you consider this dimensionality reduction, so I can go for this PCA, principal component analysis. And when you consider this clustering technique, so I can go for this K-means clustering. And there is one more important type of machine learning algorithm, so it is called as a reinforcement learning. So when you consider this is one simple example of supervised learning problem. So from the picture you can just understand. Whenever I am going to give any input data, say for example I have dog, cat, so I am going to give some labeled data, so it is given as inputs to this machine learning model. When something new comes in, when unknown data comes in, it compares the unknown data with the known data, labeled data sample, and it is going to come up with some important prediction result. So I am just saying this is a cat. So this is what is called as supervised learning problem. So from the known data samples, that is the input data or labeled data, the machine learning model, when something unknown comes in, the machine learning model unknown data of the known data, and it is going to come up with some important prediction result. Clear with this? For example, I am having this training data set. So it is given to the algorithm, so model creation, and finally it is going to classify whether it is a pineapple or an apple. So from this graph pictorial you can understand what do you mean by a classification problem and what do you mean by a regression problem. So I am going to classify, for example, green dots and green circles, you can see here. So yes or no kind of a thing. So this comes under classification problem, and there is one more type of problem. This is called as a regression problem. So house price prediction. So any kind of price prediction. For example, you can consider insurance price prediction, or you can consider house price prediction, you can consider gold price prediction. So whenever you consider any kind of price prediction, so all this comes under regression problem. So whenever the output varies in a linear manner in accordance with the input, so this is what is called as a regression problem. So you can go for text categorization, spam detection, weather forecasting, stock price prediction. So all these are the different applications of supervised learning, that is regression problem. And when you consider unsupervised machine learning, so I can go for clustering. So from the raw data points, the unlabeled data, they are given as inputs to the machine learning model. They are categorized into different clusters. For example, blue dots, they are categorized into one type of cluster. Green dots, they are categorized into one more type of cluster. And red dots, they are classified into third type of clusters. Clear with this? So all this comes under clustering problem. So from the raw data points are given as input to the machine learning model. From the raw data point, the machine learning model learns by it come up with some important prediction result. So this is what is called as a clustering problem. So I can go for e-commerce industry. So extract association rules from customers, transactional data, services, banking, entertainment. So all these are the different types of machine learning techniques. So clear with this? So till this part everything is clear. So self-driving cars, ad recommendation systems, all this comes under reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning, I am going to train machine learning model again and again, and it is going to come up with some important prediction result. So everything I am going to use Anaconda Navigator and the machine learning model. So everything is done using Python language. So all these are the different types of libraries. Basically you require Pandas library, NumPy, Matplotlib and Seaborn for doing any kind of data visualization task, and sklearn library for doing any kind of analysis, different evaluation metrics. You require this Matplot, that is sklearn library. So let me just explain you a simple example. So I am going to discuss with you about the implementation detail. So till this part, whatever I am speaking, everything is clear. Any queries or any doubts so far? Till this part, whatever I am speaking, everything is clear. So I am going to discuss with you about one project, liver disease prediction using machine learning. For example, whenever I want to import any of these libraries, so liver disease prediction, so different types of applications can be developed using this machine learning. So firstly, in order to do any kind of machine learning task, so firstly I need to import the essential libraries. So I require Pandas library. So what is the use of this Pandas library? So it is used for performing any kind of data manipulation task. And NumPy stands for numerical Python. So it is used for performing any kind of mathematical operations. And Mat library, it is used for performing any kind of data visualization task. So whenever I am going to do any kind of machine learning analysis, machine learning prediction, the analysis plays a very important step. So I am going to pick up the features or parameters from the data set, and I am going to analyze with the help of different types of visualization libraries. I can go for Seaborn and Matplotlib library, and from sklearn.model selection I am just importing this train test split module. So I can go for different types of machine learning models. I can go for logistic regression. I can go for random forest classifier. I can go for decision tree classifier, support vector classifier. So all these are the different types of machine learning models or machine learning libraries. So from sklearn.metrics I am importing the accuracy score. So firstly, for doing any kind of machine learning analysis, I have to collect the data sets from various sources. So using the Pandas library, using alias, using dot operator, there is an inbuilt function called read CSV function. So whichever inbuilt functions I have to call, so using this alias name, using dot operator, I am just calling this read CSV function. So I am just reading the CSV file. So Indian liver patient.csv, it is stored in the variable df. And after doing this, df dot shape attribute. So what is the use of this shape attribute? It returns a tuple of rows and columns. So the first dimension denotes the number of rows, comma, the second dimension denotes the number of columns. So whenever I am going to consider any kind of CSV file, so it is going to return me a tuple containing the number of rows and columns. So df dot columns. So what are the different columns that are present in my data frame? So there is a age, gender, total bilirubin. So how I am going to predict the liver disease with the help of all these features or parameters? So alkaline phosphatase, alanine aminotransferase, aspirate aminotransferase. So all these are the different features that are present in my CSV file. Df dot whichever inbuilt functions I have to call. So using this variable name, using dot operator, I am just calling this head function. So it is going to print me the first 5 rows of my data frame. So I have age, gender, so all these are the different columns that are present in my data frame. So it is going to return me the first 5 rows. And df dot data types. For example, whatever is the data type, and I am going to discuss with you about the distribution of numerical features. So whichever inbuilt plots I want to call, so using this variable name, using dot operator, I am just calling a histogram. So I am just mentioning, so whatever is the figure size, so I am just mentioning here as 15, 15 figure window, and X rotation I am just mentioning here as -45, and total bins I am just giving here as 10. And there is one more inbuilt function called describe function. Whichever inbuilt functions I have to call, using this variable name, using dot operator, I have to call the corresponding inbuilt function. So I am just calling this describe function. It just provides a brief description about my data frame. So totally when I consider age, what is the count, mean, standard deviation. So distribution of categorical data. So df dot describe, I am including the object, and bar plots for features. Clear with this? So the next comes the correlation function. So what is the use of this CORR function? It is used to find the correlation among the different features present in my data frame. So what is the relationship between age and age? So gender. So as I was telling you, right, so in doing any kind of machine learning prediction, so for example, I have to find the correlation between the various features present in my data frame. So whichever inbuilt functions I have to call, using this variable name, using dot operator, I am just calling this CORR function. So using this matplotlib alias, using dot operator, I am just creating a figure window. Figure size I am mentioning here has 10, 10 figure window. And using this cborn alias, whichever inbuilt functions of cborn I want to use, using this alias name, using dot operator, I am just creating a heat map. So you can see here, so all these are the different features from the data set or data frame. I have age, gender, total bilirubin, direct bilirubin, alkaline phosphatase, alanine aminotransferase, and what is the relationship between different features present in my data frame. Clear with this? So in doing any kind of predictive analytics, that is predictive things, the analysis, visualization, EDA, exploratory data analysis, it plays a very important step. This variable name, using dot operator, there is an inbuilt function called drop duplicate function. So whenever I want to drop any duplicates, I am calling this inbuilt function called drop duplicate function. outliers. So using this cborn alias, using dot operator, I am just calling a box plot. So if I want to remove any outliers, I am just showing in the form of a box plot. So how it is spread? I am taking each and every feature present in my data frame. So after doing the visual analysis, the next comes the, I am going to separate the independent variable and the dependent variable. So x equal to, so df dot drop function. So I am going to drop x is equal to 1. So whatever is the data set, I am just separating the independent variable and the target variable. So after doing this, I am just calling this train test split module. So I am just initializing this train test split module, and all these are given as input parameters to this train test split module. So I am having the x value, y value and test size. So how I am going to split my data into training data, 80% training data and 20% testing data. So they are stored in the variables x train, x test, y train and then y test. Clear with this? So what are the different things I am doing? So the next comes the algorithm part. So I am initializing a grid search CV and I am using different types of algorithms, and finally I am predicting the result. Clear with this? So I am going for logistic regression. So whenever I want to initialize any algorithms, I am just mentioning here as logistic regression, and C equal to 1 and penalty equal to, I am just giving here as L2 normalization. So it is stored in the variable called model, and using this model dot, whichever inbuilt functions I have to call, so I am just calling this fit function, and x train and y train are given as input parameters to this fit function. Clear with this? So I can go for random forest algorithm. So random forest classifier tune parameters I am just giving here. So clear with this, and finally comes the decision tree. So all these are the different types of classification algorithms. So any queries? So I hope I am clear with whatever I have explained you. SVC stands for support vector classifier. So any more queries? So I hope I am clear with whatever I have explained you. So everything is clear. S Surya, so I am giving the training data set. I am going to train the model. So I have used the Xtrain train test split module from the sklearn library, right? So any more queries? So if you don't have any more queries, I'm just question. Thank you all.